I don't know what that is.
It's the first 30 seconds dance.
Is it the first 30 seconds dance? Yeah, alright. Well, I don't want to dance, but welcome to the first 30 seconds of today's tea practice. We have quite the lineup today that we're going to work on. We're going to be testing 4 different clays with some Japanese sencha. Why would you use Japanese sencha for clay, Steven? Don't you use a kyusu for Japanese sencha? Like, isn't only a kyusu viable for having sencha brewed in it? No. I know that a lot of the time people are like, oh, you know, I usually brew my green tea in a gaiwan or in a kyusu, but today I wanted to kind of just push the boundaries and try to test a Japanese sencha in one of these back-handled, quote-unquote Chinese-style teapots. So that's what we will be doing today for today's tea practice. And just a tiny bit. Let's put the kettle on and get ready. Yeah. Welcome to today's tea practice. Alex and Christine, nice to see you. Steven, welcome. Leaves in hot water. We're going to get some leaves in hot water soon. Delphine, bonsoir to you. Welcome.
Host is here.
What's that?
Our challenge host.
Oh yeah, our challenge host is here, so I need to make sure I do this correctly, otherwise she might challenge host me. Today's tea practice is part of the Teaware Olympics, which is actually being hosted by Delphine, who is in chat right now. Hi Delphine. And it's going from July 1 to July 15, so we're 4 days in now. About a third of the way through, maybe? Almost. And the challenge is meant for us to test our teaware and really get to know them. I know I've done a lot of these side-by-sides in the past before, but I would really like for you guys to also quantify what your observations are with your teawares, because the last thing I want to do is for someone to watch these lives and then, you know, say like, oh, Ree thinks that Yixing Zuni is really good for oolong. I want to use Yixing Zuni for oolong. Or, oh, Ree thinks that Tokoname is good for hojicha, so I'm going to use Tokoname for hojicha, because every single pot's different. Every single potter, even from the same region, is going to be using a different clay. So more than just reading online and seeing what clays match with certain clays, or listening to someone like me tell you what to use your teawares for, you need to test your specific pots. So that's what we're trying to do in this situation. So to do that, I have 4 pots that we got lined up today. I try to pick pots that are about similar shape, similar size, because we have really, really tiny pots and we have really, really big pots. So trying to just eliminate one variable. You know how, just look how small this guy is. He's really, really tiny. And then we got really, really big ones that I just didn't want to test out, because the size of the teapot will affect the results of the experiment. So to try to remove a variable, we just went with our teapots that are relatively similar in size, relatively similar in shape as well, which is how we got the 4 that we have today. We have a zisha teapot of some kind. Kind of looks like a zuni teapot. Maybe someone can confirm to me that this is a zuni teapot. I got it for really cheap, so I'm not really sure if I want to call it maclay, but it's you know, Chinese clay teapot. And then this one is from, is it Chenlong? From Floating Leaves. So from Taiwanese potter Chenlong. This is a pot from Floating Leaves that we picked up not too long ago. Yeah, it's actually made of Tokoname clay from Japan, which the potter took to Taiwan and worked with in Taiwan. So it's pretty interesting. Something we've seen pretty often lately is Tokoname clay popping up in Taiwan. Talking to the people there who work with it, they like the feeling of the clay. They think it's just interesting to work with. I'm not a potter, so I can't speak for them, but they like the way that it interacts more than Taiwanese clays. And then we have this, we call it Hongni. It was sold to us as a modern Juni. I don't know what that means, so I'm just going to call it Hongni, which is just red clay. This is one of the ones Steven's repaired, so you see the golden mark right here, where Steven repaired it. This was actually his first repair.
A long time ago.
So a Hongni teapot. And then this one is actually a Nosaka clay teapot from Hojo Tea. If you've never heard of Nosaka before, it's because it's kind of an unusual clay. that I think Hojo Tea worked directly with the producer or the potter to create this clay blend specifically for tea performance. So not a clay you see a lot around, but whenever you hear it, Nosaka clay, it's from Hojo Tea, at least that I know of. So yeah, we'll have these 4 clays. Incidentally, 2 of these clays are Japanese clays, so we'll see how it interacts with the green tea, and the other 2 are Chinese clays made by Chinese potters. So this is from Japan, Japanese clay from Taiwan, and then 2 kind of more typical zesha or like, you know, Chinese clay pots that we got here. You guys good? Yeah. All right. But they are different, you know, volumes. So first thing we'll do when we do this, if you're interested in kind of doing these kinds of things, we will measure out the volume in the pots so that we can kind of more fairly compare them. Because what if this guy is 100 ml and then this guy is 150 ml, right? Would you put the same amount of tea in these 2 teapots if you're doing a side-by-side? The answer is no. You want to adjust for the volume, right? So if this one's 100 ml and we put 1 gram in, and this is 150 ml, we will want to put times 0.5, right? So 150 ml, 1.5 grams. So we're just gonna, you know, test to see how much volume is in these pots. And I want to show you guys again this procedure because if you want to do it at home, it sounds kind of complicated. You might need a spreadsheet for it, etc. But it helps you get just a better side-by-side for the teas. So while we set that up, I'll answer questions about that. Let us know what you guys are drinking. Happy 4th of July! For those of you who are celebrating in America. Happy, how do you say it, Steven?
American Independence Day.
American Independence Day. Yes, we are located in America today. So after this, I think we'll, you know, eat some salsa, get some chips, watch Hamilton, which I forgot came out yesterday on Hulu and Disney Plus. I love Hamilton. I love musical theater. Yeah, it's awesome. So I'm really excited about that. Okay. So again, no tea happening here. We're just measuring out what the volume is per pot. Welcome to Shiloh, nice to see you. I'm so happy that you're here. Sunblends, nice to see you, Kim. Lava the Sheep says that pot was 2 seconds away from being mine. Yes. Lava the Sheep, who's here now, Alex, was supposed to buy this pot, but literally Leo, the owner at Tea Whisk, broke it, handing it over to you guys. And that's how it became Steven's first repair. So I'm glad this teapot got some life back into it. Fallen Wheat, welcome. Is that you, Ethan? Is that your logo? Spice 401, welcome to today's tea practice. Did I see the Chinese tea shop pop in? Are they still here? Because this pot's from you guys. I never got to ask you when I was there what kind of clay it was, because at the time I wasn't really into clay. So if you guys are still here, let us know, please, what... I think this is a zuni pot, but I've never, like, talked about it as a zuni pot. I just tend to not want to identify something unless it's 100% or as close to it as possible. So I'm not a Yixing clay fanatic. I do like, you know, Chinese clays, but I certainly won't call myself an expert by any means possible on them. It's a very complicated topic. So yeah, and then the tea we're going to use today is a Sencha from Yanoko Tea, the amazing Sencha Koyu. So if you want some, just let me know and I call you later. I said it the last time we used this tea, but it's an amazing tea. From Yanoko Tea, it's 2020 green tea, amazing. And yeah, I just want to push the boundaries because usually, you know, you don't use green tea in these kinds of Chinese style teapots. So I want to see if there's a match that we can find right here. Okay, so this pot, I'm measuring the amount of water that goes in. So it's reading at around 100 ml. It says 97 grams. And so when you put your pot on a scale and you put the water inside, you can basically check to see what the volume of the pot is, right? 97 grams of water means 97 grams, 97 ml. So it is about a 100 ml pot. Okay, I'll round up. So Stephen, can you make sure that we remember it's a 100 ml pot? So first one's 100 ml. Again, we're just checking to make sure the volume is matched up. So if that's 100 ml, this is bigger. We're going to need to put a little bit more tea, you know, on it. And, you know, this is not a tea official laboratory, you know, situation, but the closer we can get to becoming consistent, like you guys know, the better, you know, it doesn't hurt. So yeah, I was right. This is 150. Wow. I'm so good at eyeballing teapot volume. I'm so good at it. Wow. Someone please give me a Nobel Prize. Okay. What are you guys drinking today? Steven, what are they drinking today? Having some Big Buddha Dragonwell. That sounds like the kind of Dragonwell I might enjoy, actually. Shiloh's having some cold brew Sencha. That sounds really good too. Two very different teas over there. Cold brew Sencha. I was thinking of doing a cold brew side by side today, but I was feeling like playing with pots. So this one's 130 ml. So again, we're just, you know, measuring the volume so that we know exactly how much leaf to put inside to call it like a legit side by side. If you guys know what I mean. And we're dealing with 4 different clays. We're going to be testing a Sencha with them today. And if you're like, Ree, you do this every time you do a side-by-side with the pots. It's true, because I still haven't found, like, I haven't made a master spreadsheet yet for all our volumes. We really should, especially here for Teawer Olympics. Yeah. For those of you who are just joining in, live is part of the Teawer Olympics we've been doing last couple days up until the 19th, where I would like you to do this. I'm just doing it so that, you know, I just want to remind you to do it too. So this one is 100 as well, Stephen. 100 ml. So 100 ml, let's show you the 4 teapots. So what's happening is that I got my volumes right. So this is 100 ml, 150, 130, and 100 ml, right? So 100 ml, 150 ml, 130 ml, 100 ml. Now we need to adjust the amount of tea we put into each to adjust for the volume. And yes, you're like, oh, Ree, but one of them is thicker walled, one of them is thinner walled. Are you really testing the material? Yes, you're correct. The way that these pots, even if we try to adjust for them, of course they'll have like little tiny things that are different about them. But now we don't have to blame like, oh, you put more tea in one than the other. That's what we're trying to remove by doing this experiment. Basically the volume to gram ratio is consistent. So that's what we're doing. Joe, nice to see you. Cup of Higher Red, Tesco. Nice to see you guys. Jeremy, welcome, welcome. Christine drank some matcha with Ruby 18 white tea as a base. What a horrible idea that is. Where did you even get that idea? Delphine's having some Balyo cha. Cool. All right. Let's weigh these out. So now that we know our volumes, we're going to go 1 gram, 1.5 grams, 1.3 grams, and 1 gram. Or should we double it? 2 grams, 2 grams, 3 grams. No, just 1?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do 1 gram. It's going to be really, really light, but that's okay. As long as they're consistent across the board. And you can adjust the amount of tea you put in for how you usually take your tea. And then I'm going to try to make sure that, you know, as I'm weighing this out, it's not all dust. Especially if you're dealing with like the bottom of the bag when you're about to do your experiment. Make sure that you kind of give each pot, you know, a relatively even amount of like crushed leaves to whole leaves. Just so that it's all fair. That's all. Okay. What are you guys doing for the 4th, if anything? I know that Joe buzzed off to finish his 4th of July happenings. That must be fun over there. 4th of July is not that huge in Vegas. We're just not a holiday city, huh, Steven? We just don't tend to celebrate holidays very much. I think because we're such a transient city, not a lot of people are from here originally. So not everyone has family in town. Yeah. And then some people work on holiday weekends, so like during Christmas, people work a lot here in Vegas. Yeah. So just measuring this out. We're about to get going here in a second, so hold your horses. Okay. I'm like holding my breath, trying to make sure that I don't break anything. Sometimes I have nightmares that I'll break something on live, and probably the first thing I'll say is, Steven! Fix it! It's really nice dating someone who knows how to fix teaware. That's the only reason why I picked up this kid. For the teaware repair perks. The only reason. Why would there be any other reason? Oh no. Alright, we're almost there. Almost there. Sorry, Steven, I'm using you as a scapegoat to fill the time when I'm weighing out leaves. Okie dokie, we got it. Boom, boom, boom. Alright. So 1 gram, because it's 100 ml. 1.5 grams for the 150 ml. 1.3 grams for the 130 ml. And then 1 gram again. So does that make sense? Everything's all even now. And then we are using similar bowls. I know these are really, really big teacups. They're actually bowls from IKEA. But I don't have 4 identical bowls that will fit these, so that's why I'm using the bowls today. And then I will probably just use a spoon to taste the teas with. I'll just use multiple spoons because we got lots of them. Yeah, there we go. Totally invest in these kinds of spoons and bowls because this whole setup that we're doing here, there's 4 bowls with 4 spoons in them. That cost us less than $10 to do for a super like consistent and like pretty pretty even tasting, pretty even presentation. Very consistent. So yeah, you guys know the drill. When we are doing side-by-sides, make sure that you have cups that are similar material, because if you're using different cups and doing a side-by-side, let's say this is a celadon bowl and then like a porcelain bowl and a glass bowl and another kind of porcelain bowl, it's going to taste different. So you want exactly the same bowls that you're pouring the tea into. And if you can skip the thermos cup, thermos pitcher, I know we usually use these, but if you use these during your side-by-side, glass will definitely change the flavor of the tea. You don't know if the effect is coming from the pot or the glass. So try to remove this and just pour straight into the bowls. Yeah? All right. Let's get started. I'm really excited. I have never brewed a side-by-side kind of like experiment like this with Sencha in these kinds of pots. I've always brewed Sencha and Kyusu. I don't know why. It's just, you think, you know, Japanese teapot, Japanese tea, but I really believe it's not necessarily the case. Material will speak a lot here. Okay. Shiloh's having some shortbread, cold brew tencha, Avatar The Last Airbender. Let's watch it again, Steven. We're thinking of getting to Korra, but I told Steven he needs to wait a little bit of time before he bounces from Avatar The Last Airbender to Korra. So I just want him to suffer a little bit, the way that we did, the people who watched the first time. Plus it's more nostalgic if you like watch it again and you're like, oh my god, all these old characters that are coming back. If you watch it immediately after, you're not going to get that same nostalgia, you know? Okay, so let's smell each of these. The Zisha teapot, the Tokoname teapot, made in Taiwan. Hongni, made in China, and then the Nosaka clay, made in Japan. Let's smell and see if there's a difference just in the aroma right now. And this is an interesting one because the only difference is the shape of the pot and the material. So that one's got a really deep taste. A deep smell, I mean. I'm pretty surprised. How about the Tokoname? Wow, it's so different already! What the hell? That's brighter, but not as deep as the zisha pot. Well, that one has almost no smell compared to the zisha. That one's a hongni. So the third one doesn't have as much smell. Right, Stephen? It's a little bit lighter. It's kind of surprising. And then last one, smell it in Osaka. Much different too. This one's got kind of like a long piercing aroma. Very interesting. Wow. Oof. It's like heady, but not so fragrant. It's more like a sensation of fragrance, which is really interesting. And then thinking about these pots, these are seasoned to very different levels of seasoning. So that is a factor here, but here's something that I don't think seasoning is as important for teaware as the material itself. I think that a well-seasoned pot is just a bonus, but you need to get the material first, correct? So I think that a pot that's seasoned for show, but it's not a perfect material for show, will perform less well than a pot that's not seasoned very much at all, and then the material is just good for show, if that makes sense. So I'm not a big proponent of seasoning. We will season our pots, but we really do believe that the clay itself matters more than the amount of seasoning on each individual pot, if that makes sense. So that's just me. Your mileage may vary. Let us know if you've noticed something different from what we've experienced. But so far, yeah. When someone's like, "Oh my god, did you season it yet?" I'm like, I'm getting there, but I'm not in any rush. Yeah. Asulaiti, welcome to today's tea practice. Good morning from over there. Demi International, Musubi Envelope. I love Musubi. Jeffrey, it's nice to see you. Happy 4th from over here in Vegas to you. We're doing a side-by-side of these 4 pots and how they perform with Sencha. Oh, Jeffrey, I wish I could. We should probably send Jeffrey some of the Sencha if he'll drink it. It's very good for being, not old tree puer. Very, very, very clean and tasty and comfortable tea. The kind of tea that you can boil. So if anyone wants to shriek because we're going to boil some Sencha, shriek now or forever hold your peace. We will use boiling for the Sencha, aren't we, Jeremy? That's come up in conversation pretty recently, is this debate between, using boiling water and Sencha. This is absolutely a tea that can take boiling water, this specific Sencha Koyu from Yanoko. I just think it's processed extremely well, which green tea has the capacity to be, made extremely well. And when green tea is made that well, you can use boiling water for it. And if you're worried, we'll be the one to suffer, right, Stephen? We will suffer the boiled Sencha for you guys. You might as well throw it in the trash, right, Stephen?
Might as well.
I'm not saying all Sencha is good with boiling water. I'm not saying it's the best possible, but I personally like the taste of a good Sencha that's brewed at boiling water. I really do. I don't just do it to stir the pot, Stir the pot? Stir the pot. I just like it. I like the taste of it. Yeah. Musubi envelope, are the teapots dried well? No. I just let them kind of chill out. We have the ability here in Vegas to have self-drying teapots, so there's actually not very much water in the bottom of them. Certainly the tea landed on some of the water that was left behind on the teapots, but yeah, I don't tend to dry my teapots after I preheat them. That's just how I roll. Whether or not that's a factor, at least it's consistent. All of these were not dried. So I'm not too worried. Alright. But if it's something that's important, let me know. It's something I'm just like, as long as I don't dry any of them, at least it's consistent all the way through. You guys ready? We got our preheated bowls right here. Yeah, let's go. We're just gonna brew them at the same time. I'm gonna try to pour into them the same way from the back. And I do adjust the way that I brew Sencha, but I'm just going to do like just very, very standard pour. Trying to make sure that I don't agitate the leaves more on one pot than the other. Of course, the natural shape of the pot will change the way the leaves mechanically move in the pot, you know? Typically, the more that the leaves move inside the pot, the more extraction you'll get. So when you see sometimes people will pour tea from really, really high and then jostle the leaves a lot, they tend to get a really strong extraction from the tea because, yeah, all that velocity. Are we gonna make it water-wise? Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. We'll see if we do. Let's pray to the tea gods. If not, then it's ruined. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if we have enough for the journey. We got the 3 going. Catch up, Steven! Can you tell me how long that was, Steven? So we can adjust for the journey later.
1 minute.
1 minute and what?
10 seconds.
Okay. So as long as we brew the journey 1 minute, 10 seconds, we're good. Thanks, Steven. It's so nice to have a co-T-Lab operator. So just add 1 minute and 10 seconds to the brew. Okay. Cool beans. Shiloh, I enjoy boiling Sencha in porcelain. Haven't tried it with Yixing. Though I've used wood-fired clay with boiled Sencha, the leaf quality was good, so it was tasty. Yeah, I agree. T. Zelson, welcome to today's tea practice. Jess, nice to see you. Margot Morel and E-Thermal Tea Love. I will love you e-thermally. In tea, because thermal, right? Yeah. So you're keeping track of how long we're brewing these, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then we'll adjust for the Nosaka. Sorry, not the Juni, the Nosaka. It's the same color as the Juni pot, so. Okie dokie. Can you tell me when you hit 3 minutes?
Okay.
We'll brew it for 3 minutes. And then again, we're still following up on the Nosaka. We'll just need to make sure to brew it for 3 minutes as well. And then once we taste it, because this is late, know that this will be a little bit warmer than the others. So yeah, we at least have the first 3 set up perfectly. Yeah. Rivers and Lakes Tea, welcome to today's tea practice. RET Planet, welcome, welcome. We're doing a side-by-side of 4 different pots. A Zisha, probably a Zini, I'm not sure. Tokoname clay made in Taiwan from Floating Leaves Tea. This one is from Tea and Whisk. It's a Hongni teapot. And then this one is from Hojo Tea. It's a Nosaka pot from Japan. We still haven't infused this, but we will in a little bit. And we're brewing a Sencha. This is a very good Sencha. Again, like if you have just like a regular Sencha from the store or something, like maybe like brew it with lighter water, but if you have a Sencha that's supposed to be the highest grade Sencha, amazing, you know, the vendor really pumped it up, yeah, give it a try. You can kind of poke at the level of quality that the vendor is claiming by doing that. So I think the more we can equip ourselves with ways to evaluate tea, the more that people will have to give us really good tea. Alright, we'll start pouring. So right now I'm pouring the Zisha. Leaves are coming out a little bit. And I'm going to try to space it out the way that the time that I pour, based on how long I think it was between each. That's about right. This is the Tokoname from Floating Leaves. This is an interesting one because it's a Taiwanese potter, but Japanese clay. So in theory, this should be the one that performs the best with a Japanese green tea, right? It's a Japanese clay, so isn't it supposed to perform the best? We'll see. Okay. Alright. Next one, Hongni from Tea and Whisk. Chinese, a really classic clay. This is a heavy one. One of the ones that Steven bought before we started dating, so I don't know it as well. The tokoname was very comfortable though. It's actually one of our newest pots. Very, very comfortable. Ooh, color's pretty light on that one. Interesting. Now know that even if we adjust it for the volume of each of these, I try to pour out the last drops for all of these. The fact that this one's bigger means it's, you know, maintaining some more heat. Yeah, there's just more variables than what's visible. So the thinness or thickness of the walls, how well the specific material holds on to heat, the porosity of the pot, etc. But the thing is, you don't have to be a teaware expert to know all of this. All you have to do is to test it and then taste, and you'll be able to get results. That's what I really love about doing teaware experiments. Let's put the timer on for the nosaka that's catching up, Stephen.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to remember how I poured it. This is about right. Right, Stephen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And I will leave these guys closed. I'll leave the lids closed. All right. Cool. And then all of these are more or less filled to the top so that all of them have a kind of seal going on. I have the lid pretty much fit tight with the water inside the pot. So yeah, general practice for us to fill that high. All right, you guys ready? Thanks for waiting for us to set this up. Steven, just yell at me when we have to pour the nosaka.
Okay.
Yeah, wow, these look like completely different colors, actually. Is it because of the intensity? There's more quantity here, but if you can see, this is the greenest one, the one from the tokoname. I'm not sure if it's because there's just more quantity inside the bowl, but even if I'm looking at the color of the tea inside the porcelain scoops, the tokoname is brewing darker for some reason. And then the honmi, this one here, is brewing very light. So that's interesting. Now again, you know, when we're looking at these different clays, they look pretty similar on the surface, but they'll have different chemical compositions going on, different physical compositions in the clay, so that's going to affect the way the tea tastes. So let's taste it. I'm not a clay expert. I love learning about clay, but what we can do is taste, and no one can take that away from us. So even if someone's like, this is a master level Yixing from, you know, the emperor used it to brew 50s pu'er, and it tastes like shit with like pu'er, then you're like, well, I don't like it. That's the magic of it. Being able to taste for yourself. Let's taste it. So this is the zusha, the first one. Did the world end? We brewed a sencha in a Japanese in a Chinese clay pot. No aliens. Okay, good. Tea police. Oh, boiled sencha. Oh my god, that's like three strikes against the tea police already. This is good, but not as good as I think it could be. Let's try the next one. Actually, there is a nice aftertaste, but I'm kind of unimpressed by the initial taste of the tea. It's lacking a little bit in flavor. The texture is nice, but I just want some more oomph from it. This is a 2020 Sencha, so I'm trying to evaluate it based on how the tea wants to taste, you know. And the tea wants to taste fresh and vibrant and springtimey, and I just feel like that particular pot isn't doing it for us. All right. Next one. This is going to be the tokoname from Floating Leaves. Oh my god, that's so good. That's really tasty. Wow. Wow, more. See, I almost put it down because that one sip was so satisfying that I was good. I just tend to be that kind of person. If something's super good, I just need a little bit of it. Wow. It's like there's already enough for you to think about that I don't need a second cup. Wow. So far, the Chenlong Tokoname pot from Floating Leaves, really, really tasty. Wow. Really good. Really good. It's got some like nice complex bitterness. It's got sweetness, florality. It's got the little bit of bitterness to kind of round everything out. It's got texture, aftertaste, cooling sensation. Like it's got everything. It's great. Wow, that's fantastic. Really, really good. Holy shit! There's like aftertaste going on. It's the whole package. It's gonna be hard to follow up with that one. Really hard. Tea Aroma, welcome. Unami Store, Drago Product, nice to see you, Ed. Acupuncture, Nine Dragons Tea, hello. Hi, DB Mary. Welcome to Tea Practice today. We're tasting some tea. Sencha from Chinese pots. World hasn't ended yet. We're good. We boiled the sencha to taste it. World hasn't ended yet. See, so many tea rules we can break, and there's no curse that awakens and I don't know, a behemoth rises from the ground and like swallows us up whole because we boiled a sencha. Sometimes it feels like it, you're like doing something quote unquote wrong, but it's okay. Like no one's gonna come. Okay, next one. This is a Honey from Tea and Whisk here in Vegas. Yeah, let's see how it goes. That's so sad compared to the Tokoname. Yeah, this tea. So how are we evaluating this, right? Like it's hard to know how this tastes. I wish we had a taste-o-meter so I could just have you guys taste every time we do these, but it's a feeling. It's like the tea wilts. It's just like, oh, it could have been better, but it's not. Like it feels like a stranger in this pot. Yeah. It's just the tea loses life. Yeah. They don't get along. It's I'm certainly looking at taste, flavor, texture, aroma, like all these things. I used to taste tea for a living, write tasting notes, evaluate lots, taste hundreds of teas to try to pick one for a season, right? But I think the better one is both for professionals and people who don't always drink tea. People know when it just works. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be a professional baker to taste a pastry and you're like, yeah, that's so good. Like that, you just know. So the Tokoname so far, that's the one that you're like, that's really good. You just know. And then for this one, it just, yeah, the honey makes the sencha kind of wilt. It's kind of sad. It loses life. What does it taste like? Yeah, it's like sour and kind of dry and flat and dusty, and it doesn't taste like a spring 2020 tea. So would you notice if we weren't doing a side-by-side? I'm not sure, but then you wouldn't know what the potential of the tea is until you tried it in the Tokoname, for sure. So we want the tea, after all it's gone through, the tea maker putting all that effort to make it taste amazing, the people importing it, making sure it was packed correctly, received correctly, etc. This last step of making sure that tea lands where it wants to be, that's our job. So that's why we do this, not to be hoity-toity or anything. It's super fun, and that's our job to make sure we don't drop the ball. This is the last step of the tea. Like, so many people cared for it, and then you're like, I'm gonna brew it in glass. And then the tea dies. And then you're like, I didn't like the tea anyway. That's the challenge of the tea makers, is they have to trust us to make the shit right. It's a lot of trust. Okay, last one. Nosaka clay. This is a Japanese clay as well. Yeah, I wanted to put this here because just because something is from Japan doesn't always mean it's gonna taste good with the Japanese tea. So we'll try. I don't think I've ever tried Nosaka with a Japanese sencha. Have we, Steven? I don't think so. We actually use it for black tea. Okay, it's not the one. It doesn't really, but it's interesting. It's very peppy, it's lively, it's very electric. The more that I drink it, actually, the more I like it. Yeah, it's interesting. It's not the perfect match, but what's happening right now is the tea almost feels like electricity on the palate. It's very poppy, very lively. The texture's super different. It's doing stuff that's really interesting. So while it doesn't speak to me the same way as the, does it taste good here? It tastes amazing with the tokoname. But the Nosaka, it's changed the tea in a very interesting way. So now I'm thinking about other teas that would taste good with that treatment. What's a tea that wants to be poppy, lively, electric? It's just a little bit too intense for green tea. It's making the green tea a little bit too, like green tea's already like this. And it's going like, it's just too much, right? Just a little bit too much. I would love to try that with, black tea, because sometimes black tea needs that lift. Another thing I'd like to try that with is like a shopuar, if we don't mind lifting a little bit of that earthiness. Same thing with roasted tea. Yeah, so the Nosaka we actually consider to be one of our specialist pots. You can, I love clay, but if you can just assign characters to your pots, you'll understand them better. As humans, we learn better when we can humanize or anthropomorphize things. So while it looks a little bit like childish to name a pot or put a personality to a pot, you just learn it better, right? Like we weren't born knowing what a tokoname is or a Nosaka clay pot. But if you're like, hey, that's my pot that like makes like dancy things happen to the tea. It's a specialist pot. This is a pot that makes things more complex for me and more, it just does so well with black tea. So I remember that complexity and structure. And the thing is, this tea doesn't need more complexity and structure. That's the thing. The Sencha just needs more like depth and just I think that Sencha sometimes suffers from a lack of aftertaste. It's not like a pu'er where it sits really, really deep. It kind of needs some help to go like feel more grounding, more big, So that's why I like the tokoname here, because it makes tea feel more big. It helps the tea fill up the room a little bit more. The Nosaka certainly makes it taste good, but it's still lacking that little like extra something to push the tea to where it wants to be. So yeah, the tea just feels home here, which is what we like. So the honey, really not good. let's try this again. Let's go from the very beginning and try some again. If you have any questions, let us know. And Nine Dragons C says, Tokonami for the win for this one, yes. It's almost, we should have expected it. Tokonami Japanese clay, which is so good for green tea, that we've experienced even from like a traditional Japanese potter. Even if you take it to Taiwan, have a potter work with it, apparently it still works well with Japanese green tea. But not all Japanese clay work with Japanese green tea. I like what Shiloh said earlier. If it's so wrong, why does it taste so right? Agreed. Acupuncture says, love the simplicity and honesty. Does it taste good though? Yeah, agree. And yes, Heidi, I love our job. This is the fun part. We get to be handed something that's already completed almost, and then the last step is us. Very few things happen like that. Like when you go to a restaurant, the chef like gives you the souffle already finished, and then maybe the waiter might like pour some sauce over it. It's already done. You're just a spectator. But tea is not a spectator sport. It's something that you really need to be involved in. And when you do these experiments as part of the Teaware Olympics, that's you doing your responsibility to not drop the ball with a tea. Because again, that tea has been passed on through so many people, and then now it's you, and you're like, well, I don't know, whatever pot, I guess. It's just whatever works, right? Like, once you're aware of it, someone put in the effort to roast the tea at 120 degrees instead of 130, or decided to wither it 6 hours instead of 7 hours. Is it not too much to ask for us to decide if we want to pour the tea in a tokoname versus a hongni versus a nosaka? I don't think it's too much to ask from us. Plus it's fun. It's not work. We really, really enjoy doing this. Going back through this again, I just want to think more about what makes it different. So you guys get the point. Like once you do these experiments, you'll just know. You don't have to be a professional tea expert or a professional clay maker. You don't have to be a ceramicist like Shiloh. Bonus points if you are, but you don't have to be a ceramicist or a chemist to understand what's going on. You can enjoy tea without understanding all of those tiny factors. Trust your taste. You get that now. But let's play a little bit with what I think the clays might be doing. If you guys want to pitch in with this part, let us know too. But what are we actually tasting? Why did I pick the tea like rankings that I did? I'd say this is first, probably second, the Zisha, probably Zuni clay, and then the Sakura about tied. And then the Hongni is just terrible. It like kills the tea, I would say. Like it murders it. Like it sneaks into the its room at night and just drags it off and strips it of all its life. It's just that bad. It's really unfortunate. Like really bad. I know it's extreme, but that's just how I feel about it. Like this poor tea that, yeah. So first, second, third. Why is it? You would think that the color would say something more about it, but these two being such similar colors actually did very, very different things to the tea. It's really interesting. Why we like the Tokoname. It's just deep, it's just got so much depth. Oh my god, it's so good. It's like surfing a wave of like Japanese Sencha pride. It's just so good. It's just full and deep and heavy but still bright and lively, and just so much going on, so much to give. Very generous. Just makes me want to go, which for me is not common because, as you can tell, I'm kind of like a live wire sometimes. What's going on here? I don't know. Again, this particular pot that did so well in this lineup is a Tokoname clay pot. This is one of Japan's like most famous, if not the most famous clay from Japan. You might have seen this clay more commonly in a kyusu form. So I actually do have a kyusu that's Tokoname clay. So you guys might know this one. We really like this for Sencha as well. But the thing is, different potters will have different blends. And Tokoname is not just like one 7-Eleven where you enter the store and you're like, hey, can I have some Tokoname clay? And the Tokoname clay bank says, yeah, here you go, here's Tokoname clay. There's so many different kinds of Tokoname clay because each potter has their own blend they like to work with. Each potter has their own like source of the clay, that they use. Some potters will even take outside material and blend it in with their clay. That's just something I've learned recently, is that even if something is mostly Tokoname clay, if the potter wants to do something interesting with the pot because they want to add more structure to it, or they want a different color, or I don't know, for any reason, they can just put some in, and that's it, and what are we gonna do, complain? So even if you're shopping, if you see two things that are both Tokoname clay, you're like, oh, I just want a Tokoname clay pot, just know that you might not have the exact same composition. You can even see from the color, I think that's probably technique going on there. The Taiwanese potter just did something different with it. It looks more high-fired. It's very, yeah. The Tokoname from Japan, this one here, even looks a little bit more porous. Feels more porous. I don't know. I'm not an expert in terms of porosity and stuff, but it just feels different. Something else that might have helped the Sencha was just how big the pot is. So I know that a lot of us prefer smaller pots, but because there's more material in this bigger pot, I think, I should probably weigh it, right? Because just because the pot's bigger doesn't mean it has more material. But when you fill up 150 ml of boiling water in this pot compared to 100 ml of boiling water in this tinier pot, if they're about the same amount of material, which one will get cooler faster, right? Which pot will become cooler faster? The big pot or the small pot? And the answer is the small pot's going to get cooler faster because there's less of that boiling water to keep the boiling water like vibes inside, right? It's going to just dissipate heat more. So there is a benefit for using a larger teapot because it's going to be able to maintain that heat just a little bit better. Just think of when you make soup and then you're trying to put that soup in like a container because you want to heat the soup, but there's just so much friggin' soup, you're like, it's going to take 2 hours for the soup to cool down. True story. But if you make a tiny, bowl of top ramen, it's going to cool down a lot faster because there's just less quantity, less heat, energy going on there. It's going to cool down faster. So it's possible that in this larger pot, not only is it the material, but also the heat retention is much better. And so the tea was able to be infused a lot longer, a lot more thorough in the larger pot. But I really do think that tokoname as a clay, just in general, tends to do well for green tea. If you get the classic kind of like red tokoname, this is like oxidation firing, where there's oxygen introduced, right, into the firing process. And what I mean by that is this is red. But if you don't fire it that same way, you'll get something that looks more like this, which is a reduction firing. This is actually tokoname as well. You're like, wait, but it's not. Why is it different? That's me when I first got these two pots. Or when I first saw this pot. These might be the exact same clay, but they were fired in different ways. So the composition of the clay will change after that firing. So they're not going to taste the same anymore. Okay? So, in short, these are both tokoname, but this guy here, the darker one that's been reduction fired, is horrible. Horrible! Like, really bad with green tea. I can't emphasize this more. It's really bad. And it's actually our Sencha pot. As some of you guys already know, we brew da hong pao in this pot. And I don't even know if the potters ever had da hong pao, This is a Tanikawa Jin pot. He's from Japan. It was not advertised as a oolong pot. It's from a Japanese vendor. They probably expected people to brew Sencha in it. The filter is built for Sencha as well. It's just a classic Japanese filter. But it's just terrible with green tea. Like, horrible. So make sure that you test, basically. Just because it's the same clay on the name doesn't mean it's the same results. And then use your eyes. If something's a different color, you're like, wow, it's different. We should probably test it. Jeremy says, Hongmi, in my experience, does not really outshine any tea. Yeah, let's talk about that. Why did the Hongmi do so poorly? Now, I am not the biggest fan of Yixing teapots, and the reason why is I think it takes more money to get a better Yixing pot because it's just so high in demand that we're probably with the same like dollar per dollar amount getting a lesser quality Yixing than, let's say, a tokoname pot, just because the demand is so high. So I think that there's actually Hongni. Hongni is red clay. There's probably Hongni out there that's like fucking amazing, like it's really good, and that's why people pay for it. But us peasants down here who don't have like, the OG really, really high quality Hongni, we have okay Hongni, but it's not the absolute best. So that's why I think whenever I've tried like a Yixing teapot from just, I don't have any like really, massively huge Yixing, like they went to like China to like consult with some tea teacher to tell them which specific 10 Yixings from which era they wanted to get. Most of my friends, I think most of us we spend money on tea, we spend lots of money on tea, but I don't think we're buying like $1,000 Yixing teapots yet. So that's what I tasted. And I just haven't found Yixing that's just like, wow, holy crap, stellar, amazing. And I think that's why, because the higher grade stuff is probably being bought up somewhere else. I don't know, I'm not an expert on this, that's just my guess, but that's just what I've seen from, let's say, tea, where I'm not that impressed by a lot of dragon well. But I think there's probably amazing dragon well out there. It's just too expensive for little old me, and people are already buying the good stuff. Versus like the Sencha from Miyazaki. It's like not a famous region in Japan, you know, it's amazing. I think this is like a world-class tea, but it's not from a famous region, which is why we're not paying that much for it. This is a Miyazaki tea. Have you heard of Miyazaki? Me, I'm like, I've kind of heard of it, but it's not like an Uji or like, you know, Shizuoka, mostly Uji, right? It's not super famous. So then we're able to access it better. Yeah, Nosaka clay. Have you heard of Nosaka clay? It's like, well, you know, how is it? It's not famous. So it's a hit or miss if it's going to be good, but if you can get the good version of something that hasn't blown up yet, you can probably dollar per dollar get something that performs better. So in plugging like our local ceramicists, there are so many good unknown ceramicists that are not famous, or not using famous clays, that are going to be using really, really well-tested clays that you can get the same performance for a fraction of the price from them. Because, I don't know, like all of Hong Kong hasn't called Shiloh up yet and said, oh my god, we want your pots. But can they perform as well? Probably. If the potter was able to get their blend correct. I think that's how we got away with such amazing clays from Taiwan, because Taiwan is not known for having amazing clay, but there's some fucking amazing clays over there. So shh. Yeah. So that, I think that's why. Again, I'm not an expert on pots. That's just my thinking, but I just wanted to share it with you in case you're thinking about your strategy for buying pots and exactly how much you're paying for the value. If you have less money and you want more value, I would highly recommend buying outside of a famous region, but something that people have liked before, you know. Yeah, so ask a friend, hey, where'd you get that? Do you like it for tea? Did they do side-by-sides? Did they do experiments? If they're like, yeah, I've side-by-sided it, I really like this performance, you should get it, then I would actually prefer it more than like if you went to like a super famous name or brand and bought that because it just has a famous name. I just haven't had a lot of help there, for sure, or a lot of luck. Yeah, most of our pots are like made by relatively not as famous people, but they're like, holy crap, really, really good. Yeah. Last one. This is the Zusha, also a cheaper one. It actually did better than the Hongni. I don't know why. That's really interesting. In theory, this is supposed to be a more porous pot than the Hongni. You can just kind of feel it. It's more rough. It's got a kind of like more dull kind of sounds. I think it's more porous. I don't like to clink my pots that much, but for some reason it tasted really, really good with the koyu, and I think that's the material speaking for itself. It probably has a capacity for a long aftertaste. I've noticed that the clays with darker color will not always be the best in terms of flavor, but they will be really good for texture and aftertaste. So that's just something I've started to notice. So not the best for green tea, but still interesting stuff. So I would actually, we use this for shopuar, good shopuar, not just any shopuar. Yeah, we really like this for shopuar. It just brings that kind of length and body that's, I feel sometimes shopuar is lacking, that like really satisfying long aftertaste, just a little bit basic, so this helps kind of boost it. So yeah, I hope this helps. If you have any questions, let us know. Teaware Olympics is going on until the 15th of July here on Instagram and on the Tea Curious Discord. The hashtag for it is hashtag Teaware Olympics. Again, it is being led by Delphine at Delphine Gindras. Delphine? Yeah, I think that's how you say your last name. And whatever I said here, take it and then throw it out the window, because I want you to do it, okay? Like, you have different pots than us. I'm showing you how we do our specific, you know, lineup. You might have a different opinion than me in terms of what you like from these pots. You might think that this is trash and this is better. You know, I don't know. And that depends on your personal preference and what you want to do, what you want to, you know, what you want to apply for your tea. So go do some experiments, go hashtag Teawear Olympics, post it on the Discord if you can so we can trade notes. And yeah, we can learn together. It's gonna be great. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Happy 4th. Goodbye. Thank you, Charlo. Steven says thank you too.